present book, the story of More, the best-selling author of Lab Girl, Hope Jahren, adapted for young adults. Now, how we got to climate change and where to go from here. This is what she's written. Backside of the inner jacket, that's her photograph as you see her. A professor, an award-winning scientist who has been pursuing independent research to paleobiology since 1996. She is the author of 2 works of non-fiction, The Story of More and the best-selling Lab Girl. Really good. I mean, even I liked the little that I've read. That's the ISBN, and it says, we, the 20% of the globe that uses most of its resources, must begin to detox from their consumption, or things will never get better. Just to let you know what the book is all about, I read from the inner cover. Hope Jahren, acclaimed geochemist and geobiologist, details the science behind key inventions, clarifying how electricity, large-scale farming, and automobiles have both helped and harmed our world. Jahren explains the current and projected consequences of unchecked global warmings, from superstorms to rising sea levels, resulting from the unprecedented amounts of greenhouse gases being released into our atmosphere. The links between human consumption habits and our endangered existence are very real, with consequences leading to crossroads of survival and extinction. She maintains that our ever-broadening science-based knowledge can help us counter this dilemma. That's a belief. The eye-opening information provided in the story of More will help readers understand the path we must take if we collectively make informed choices now. She reassures us our future can be as bright as we imagine it can be. She was born in 1969, and she says a summary of facts. Globally, since 1969, population has doubled, child mortality has decreased by half, average life expectancy has increased by 12 years, 47 cities have grown to contain more than 10 million people, production of cereal grains has tripled, the amount of crops that can be harvested per acre has more than doubled, the amount of land cultivated for farming has increased by 10%, production of meat has tripled, annual slaughter of pigs has tripled, chicken has increased 6-fold, cattle has increased by half, consumption of seafood has tripled, the amount of fish taken from the ocean has doubled, the invention of aquaculture made fish farming the source of half of all seafood eaten today. Production of seaweed has increased tenfold. We eat half of the total as hydrocolloid food additives. Consumption of table sugar has nearly tripled. The amount of human waste produced each day has more than doubled. Waste of edible food has increased such that it now equals the amount of food needed to adequately feed all the undernourished people on earth. The total amount of energy that people use every day has tripled. Then she writes that the amount of electricity that people use every day has quadrupled. 20% of the world's population has come to use half of the world's electricity. She writes with her research, the total population living with no access to electricity has grown to 1 billion people. The number of airline passengers has increased tenfold, while the total distance traveled by rail has declined. The miles traveled by car each year has more than doubled. There are currently almost 1 billion motor vehicles on the planet. Global fossil fuel use has nearly tripled. Coal and oil use has doubled. Natural gas use has tripled. The invention of biofuels has grown to consume 20% of the global annual harvest of grain. And she writes, the production of plastic has increased tenfold. The invention of new plastics has grown to consume 10% of the fossil fuels used each year. The share of electricity generated using hydropower has decreased to an all-time low of 15%. Other interesting findings are the share of electricity generated using nuclear power has increased to an all-time high of 6%. The adoption of wind and solar powered electricity has grown to provide almost 5% of all electricity generated each year. 1 trillion tons of carbon dioxide have been released into the atmosphere from the burning of fossil fuels. The average global surface temperature has increased by 1 degree Fahrenheit. The average global sea level has increased by 4 inches. Half of this rise was due to the addition of water melted from mountain glaciers and polar ice. More than half of all amphibian, bird and butterfly species has declined in population. 1/4 of all fish and plant species has declined in population. And she also shares the sources and suggested readings. She says for the readers who may be asking themselves, where in the world did she find quantitative data on all of this? So you go through the book and find out from where all of this. Very interesting. In the appendix, the story of Les, she quotes James Russell Lowell and says, our healing is not in the storm or in the whirlwind. It is not in monarchies or aristocracies or democracies, but will be revealed by the still small voice that speaks to the conscience and the heart, prompting us to a wider and wiser humanity. And she prods us into action by saying, what actions will you take after having read all of this? So she asks, do you want to live in a more equitable world with a brighter future? And she says, if your answer is less, then there's a lot you can do to get there, bearing in mind that while Rome wasn't built in a day, it didn't burn down in a day either. So step 1, examine your values. A large number of issues have been raised in these 19 chapters. Which ones resonate with your daily life, your greatest fears, your highest aspirations? Consider them all, then rank them accordingly. Where does world hunger fall on your list? Extinction of species, varying weather, green energy, pollution of our oceans, animal rights, public transportation, beach erosion, healthy school lunches, national parks, organic farming, Arctic warming, women's health. Some of these issues may be very important to you and others less compelling. Identify one issue to focus upon, the one that you're willing to sacrifice for. Second step, she says, is gather information. Go through your habits and possessions to take stock of how your personal life matches, or like most of us, doesn't match up with your values. How many miles does your family drive? How often do you fly? Is any of it optional? How much of the water that goes down your drain is still drinkable? How much of the food that goes into your garbage is still edible? How much meat do you eat and how often? Go through your closet and look at the tags. Where were your clothes made? How far did they travel to get to you? Go through your refrigerator. How many items came to you in a plastic container? How many of them contain added sugar posing as natural sweetener, corn syrup, cane sugar, cane syrup, etc., fruit juice concentrate, raw sugar, brown sugar, dextrose, glucose, HFCs? Is there land near you that is being contested for development versus conservation? How is the electricity that comes into your house generated? Is constructing a renewable energy facility up for discussion within your country? Where does the gasoline you pump come from? Is any of 8. Ethanol. Which of the meats that you consume contains the most grain? Which parts of your sushi were likely raised inside a farm? Then part 3 is, can you make your personal activities consistent with your values? Pick out one change that you can make. Can you drive fewer miles? Carpool. Eliminate some of your plane trips. Use public transportation. Buy 40% less food, especially the items you notice finding their way into the garbage. Avoid sugared foods. Eat fewer meals of meat each week. Reuse plastic objects more than 3 times. Keep your thermostat lower during the winter and high during the summer. Buy locally, buy less, give up more. Be sure to keep a journal on how it goes, record the numbers and the outcomes. After you take these first 3 steps, you will find yourself knowledgeable, experienced, humbled, and proud of your values. All these are necessary, though not sufficient, qualities for convincing others. If you have made it this far, please know that I am very proud of you for many reasons, not the least of which is that you are ready for the hard part. That is step 4. Can you make your personal investments consistent with your values? Investments can refer to stocks, bonds, mutual funds, but actually every time you make a purchase, you are investing in something. When you buy a cappuccino on the run, you are investing in the location of the cafe, how it treats its employees, the means by which it obtains coffee beans, the living conditions of the sourced milk cows, and the transport system that brought all those ingredients into your neighborhood. It's admittedly a bewildering challenge, but it's useful to think about which of the 5 things on that list conforms to your values and which ones do not. Can you patronize a cafe that meets 2 of your criteria while you search for ones that meets 3? Baby steps. No one can run before they can walk. And the last is step 5. Can you move your institutions towards consistency with your values? At this point, you possess the magic criterion to advocate for change. Personal experience. Go to your school, your house of worship, your place of employment, and start a dialogue with those in charge. Share your values, your struggles, and your experience. Listen to them. Talk about their restrictions and concern. Thank them for their time. Write a follow-up letter emphasizing your values, your struggles, and your experience, and ask for another appointment. Talk to your peers within the institution. Keep going back. Keep advocating for the things you believe in. It takes time and perseverance, but people, even politicians and the institutions, can change. But you're only one person in a world of more than 7 billion. Will changing your values make any difference? It sure will. And read this chapter, The Difference You Make. A great book. Good to read. Go ahead.